today, and it's kind of a deep dive into Wanda Maximoff, right? The Scarlet Witch, as she is known in Marvel Comics, right? I'm just kind of getting everything set up. I'll be locked in here in a momento. And the main thing is, in Marvel Comics, she's a fascinating character. Now, before I dig into Wanda and like what I see going on here with Wanda, let's set a little backstory with Wanda. Like, Wanda is among, or is associated to, some of my favorite storylines. Like the time when by the time I really got, I started in comics, like I was heavy Avengers, right? Like kind of almost instantly, man. Like when I got into comic books, right? Pretty quickly, because I started off with Thor and like randomly some Iron Man, and of course that led me right to the Avengers, right? So I've always been Avengers adjacent. So her story, like, is intricately tied to everything that I'm into, right? Especially the story of Ultron. The whole backstory with the Vision and Ultron. So Vision and Ultron, obviously are heavily linked, right? Like they're heavily linked together. These two guys actually do get together, right? At least in the old school days. And I know you have different continuities and all this stuff, but essentially, like, we know that, Ultron's story is, I believe for the most part, still linked to the Vision, right? They changed the scientists. Like, I know now it's Tony Stark who's the one who does the creation, at least in the MCU. I don't know if they changed in the comic book because I haven't, looked at engaged in it in that way in years, right? But I do know that, like, she's heavily linked to that story through Ultron. Like, guess who's like her brother-in-law? I guess Ultron is like the Vision's brother. So maybe she sees Ultron as like her brother-in-law. Whatever the relationship is, I'm all about Ultron, right? He's my favorite villain. So I'm just giving you a little backstory about what I think about Wanda, right? Like, I felt like obviously she's one of the most powerful characters, one of the most powerful Avengers, right? But I've been through some stuff with Wanda, right? But Wanda is crazy. Like, if you were to ask me previously, like, what's wrong with the Scarlet Witch? I'd be like, yeah, that bitch crazy. Like, she crazy, right? And I'm going to get into a couple of things, but also understand I'm coming at it from a very sympathetic place to Wanda. I like Wanda. I want things to work out for Wanda. Not only is it good for Wanda, it's also good for all the rest of us when we really, really get into, like, who Wanda is. Now, understanding Wanda means, let's take kind of a look at her mutant powers. And her power is an ability that, her powers are related to altering reality. Essentially, she can alter reality. That's her natural kind of mutant manifestation power. They don't fully extrapolate it out. That's an extremely powerful gift for a human being to have, like, the level of influence and control that you have over your environment. Like, man, it's massive that they hand this power out like it's just candy, right? So that's who she is. So this is how they deal with her as a being, right? And so we're gonna cross a lot of, like, very, very powerful topics in talking about her journey, like what she goes through. Now, at the beginning, like, you can see this, right? I'm sorry, I didn't have my cam up here, right? If you can see this, like, this is a story we're saying about grief, love, and the path that she decides. This is a story about grief. Like, at the end of the day, when I talk about Wanda Maximoff, it is not lost on me that this woman is enduring exceptional levels of grief. Okay? This is the truth about Wanda. I'm going to balance that out by saying, so do all the rest of us. Okay? And that's not to diminish what she's going through. It is to identify with her some of the elements of the human condition that we have to anticipate together. And we can if we work together. Okay? So those are a couple of things. And I'm going to talk about how her mental issue, or her mental unhealth issues, and her powers make her a very deadly combination, which is a problem for everybody that lives down here. Now it's a problem if you happen to be in her vicinity of this very, very powerful mutant. Okay. Now, her powers were centered on like grief and grief resolution. She loses her children. She loses the vision. Okay. So there are some things about handling grief that we have to all endure. It doesn't matter. You being more powerful doesn't mean that your grief is more powerful than mine, right? Like grief doesn't scale along with power. Grief is grief, right? My love is just as intense as yours, right? And yet I don't, it's not because I, lack the ability to go out and affect other people's reality. I still don't, right? Like there's small things I could do. If I could take my frustrations out by, knocking over everybody's trash can, I could do that once a week and feel like I'm expressing myself, but I don't, right? So her grief is not exceptional because she's more powerful, although the consequences of it are. So we are going to talk about that grief part of Wanda. Now, because first, the whole thing with the children is that the children are technically, they are real. Like when she loses the vision, she goes and she creates this entire bubble of altered reality. That's what she creates, including manifesting vision. You get what I'm saying? She manifested him. She manifested the children. So inside of this altered reality, everything in here is 100% real relative to all this. So she manifests everything about it. Like, and you can imagine the bonding process, the birth, all this stuff she manifested. And then she has these children who are capable of independent thought, who interact with each other and other people. They have all those components, right? So no matter what, how real or unreal, whatever, so they're not just illusions. They are literally manifestation of someone who has the ability to alter reality. So she is altering reality in such ways that these children actually exist, okay? And enough that she not only has the emotional bond, she has the physical bond as well. So this is complete bonding. Now, we're going to talk about what drives her to the extreme that she goes to. And let me say that I always will say, I believe Wanda is 100% a redeemable person. 100%. I think Wanda is, in the right circumstances, she's redeemable. She can absolutely be a healthy person and all that good stuff. I actually do believe about Wanda, but I'm going to explain why some of the issues are out there, right? And here's the thing, like, now I go back to Wanda and like, what's up with Wanda? Yeah, that witch crazy. And the first thing is I have to address your situation, your love of the Vision, okay? Because unfortunately, Wanda, I do have to say that you and the Vision, like, he's still an artificial life, right? He's still an artificial life, right? He is, right? And here's the thing. I was deep into Vision and the Scarlet Witch, right? I remember their first kind of branch out series in the comics. Like, I was down with Vision and the Scarlet Witch, like the early, because like Vision still, he's kind of one of my, I don't know if I call him one of my favorite characters, but I was down with Vision. I was at least down with whatever was going on there, right? Like I was absolutely down with it. So I've got a level, and again, because you come from, my man Ultron, I tend to want to like, again, those stories, like, they're significant to me. So there's even a degree that I kind of like. My take on Vision is, yeah, you're a pretty cool character. You're kind of dope. You got strength. Like, overall, I like the Vision. But I can't ignore that, yeah, he's actually, like, not a human. And while I get it, like, the intelligence, like, being able to fall in love or make an emotional attachment to an artificial intelligence, I can see that, right? I'm not even questioning that part of it. I'm not. I can actually work within that, right? But the other part of it is, like, we're humans. We're biological forms. So when we talk about people, like, being intimate with each other, it's not just the intellect part, right? We actually connect with each other on a lot of levels that have nothing to do with your brain at that moment. our bodies are still biochemical, and like our intimacy is for a specific purpose, right? Your body reacts to it because you're entering your body into what nature calls reproduction. Okay, now whether your goal is to foil that reproduction, right, trick that reproduction, right, deter that, redirect that reproduction, whatever your plans are, you're entering into the scenario where reproduction happens. So if you do that, you're not surprised. Like, you may be like, oh damn, I thought we were protected. Psych, right? So, but you understand that it is a potential outcome of this. And because of that, because it's an important biological function, our bodies respond. Our bodies are programmed for this. We're programmed to respond to other humans because nature on some level gives us this drive for reproduction. It's extremely important for the species that we reproduce, okay? So when you're with the Vision, you're not getting all those things that are pheromones and warmth and, just the normal human things. And to say that you're replacing it with something else, that's a little bit weird. So I start off understanding, because remember, Quicksilver was my boy too, right? So I kind of understand where Quicksilver was coming with this. We're like, it's mad embarrassing what you're doing. Like, whether you're having an intimate relationship with them is one, but like, look, it's a lot of people right now that are having intimate relationships with some type of a robot, right? I don't want to know about it. There's a lot of people right now. There's a whole industry. There's a whole industry of people out there that are making stuff like that. I don't know if you guys remember the classic movie Cherry 2000. All I can tell you is that Melanie Griffith was in it. The fact that it's called Cherry 2000, I think this was shot in the 80s, so we thought like the 2000s was the future. And it's basically this like, kind of futuristic it's a futuristic world, and basically this guy has a really advanced robot that he comes home to every single night. It's Cherry, right? So he goes to work and then he comes home. Basically, he's like, I'm down with Cherry every single night, right? And it is kind of weird. Like, it's weird. But he did that stuff in his apartment. Nobody saw this. He wasn't going out in public with Cherry. Okay, he wasn't. So I even get what you guys are like, the whole like isolationism, and all he's really pursuing is like these levels of gratification. I'm not saying that that's not just as because there's a lot you're missing, even for this guy. I know Cherry seems perfect. There's a lot of stuff that's not a part of what Cherry is, right? And we'll talk about that. So I can't ignore that Wanda having this type of relationship, intimate relationship. It is not. I can't say it's not a little weird. I just have to. I have to say it is what it is. Okay. So going into it, that's what kind of sets up the premise for what would be her greater downfall, right? Or not even her downfall. It's a greater setback. Because again, I'm like, Wanda is 100% a redeemable person, right? Wanda, I think, with good therapy, Wanda's fine, right? I don't think she presents like, she at times can be an out of control threat, but I think overall, Wanda has shown that like we can try and work with Wanda, and she's worth working with, right? I'll say that about Wanda. Because her thing is, she just cannot accept her grief. It is her grief resolution that she struggles with. So when she finds herself that she's lost her children, she simply breaks. Like, she simply breaks. And this is what kind of cascades her all the way, all the way down. Now, what I will say is like, okay, it's kind of universal that we understand like a mother losing her child is, probably the most tragic, thing that can happen in a relationship. Like any bond connection is between mother and child. So for a mother to lose her child and vice versa, it's like that's the most difficult bonds. Ironically, these happens all the time with like high infant mortality rates in various places of the world, and like just like mothers infant crib syndrome. Like, there's a lot of stuff. The high death rates of women during childbirth, even in the United States, we have like a extremely high death rate for Black mothers. So it's a tenuous relationship. A mother and children is a very tenuous relationship when literally one of you guys might not make it up out of here. There's a point You're in the middle of any pregnancy where they both got to look at each other and be like, man, I sure hope I see you at the end of this, right? I sure hope that we both make it through this pregnancy. Because it's a high likelihood that you might not both make it through it. So the bond that she has with these children is actually a real actual biological bond that she has. So when you start throwing all this stuff together, it's really her level of power that becomes super disruptive. That's really where everything starts to break down. And because she has the ability to, generate reality or alter reality, all of her feelings now become extremely relevant in that regard. So if I look at Wanda and I'm just like, yeah, she's still like a highly like likable character. And again, I would say like her biggest thing is that she probably, like, Wanda, I don't know if you got any help. I don't remember the end of the multiverse of madness. I don't know if you got some help, but I think if Wanda were to go out and get some help, I think Wanda's path is a whole different thing, right? Like you got some issues, like you got some stuff I think you can work out and that you should work out. So I just want to get in, dip on this Wanda, because I've been sitting on this for a little bit and just wanted to talk about it. Like, it's kind of a classic story when you look at what she goes through. And the thing about Wanda is, like, I kind of feel like she lacked a belief system, right? And this is important because I'm not making an argument. I'm not making an argument endorsing belief systems, right? I'm not saying go out and join a church and start to believe something. But I am saying that a component of a belief system is a psychological programming to handle death. That's one of the biggest questions that religions and sometimes mythology answer is, what happens when you die, right? That's a central thing. And whether the belief system is true or not isn't really the topic. The topic is, it's a mechanism that we developed, right, in order to handle what we can't handle, which is the idea that we're dead, right? Now, some people will argue that, literally that dead means you're just turned off and you're gone, and that there's nothing. Other people have their, what they think's happened. And that's not even as important. It's not as important as you're right. That's not it. The importance is that this is a evolutionary trait that we evolved in order to deal with things like, I'm going to die and I'm scared of it, right? I don't know what happens. I have unresolved issues. Unresolved things are nightmares mentally and psychologically. So this is what belief systems give you. Belief systems tell you things like, well, I'm going to go to where the ancestors are, or I'm going to end up in Elysium, or I'm going to Valhalla. Wherever you think you're going, you've got that already planned. And I'm sure how you think you're gonna live in the afterworld probably influence how you live today and where you die. Like, if you're like, I'm going to Valhalla, you probably moving different right now. If your goal is you're gonna die and go to Valhalla, you're doing some Valhalla facilitating activities right now. You don't just be like, yeah, I'm all of a sudden in Valhalla. So this is kind of what when we look at belief systems, they give you an answer to the unanswerable. That's the important thing. It's not about it being right. It's about, does your brain have mechanisms to fall back on as you're dealing with your ultimate grief? Things that are kind of incomprehensible, and now you're dealing with them. How do you handle what you're dealing with? Well, having a belief system kind of gives you a roadmap. But yeah, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna see whatever, like, the trumpet men or whatever. I'm gonna see so many trumpet. Somebody's gonna call me up. It's gonna be cloud. You have an expectation, or you're gonna see, man, it was hot down there. I saw this river of fire and a bunch of guys with, pointy tails. I saw a bunch of that, right? So, but mentally, you have an expectation, whether it's terrible or whatever. This is what belief systems actually give you. So Wanda not having a rooted belief system, she was dealing with one of the heights of trauma, losing children and also her robot husband. And she was left without mechanisms and where she could resolve those issues. Essentially what it is. So there are resolution type tools that exist, right? Psychologically, we've been developing things. And some of those things happen to be like our religions and how our religions tell you to move doing this. So that's essentially what I wanted to get out about Wanda and her system. Like, yes, she's crazy. It's a special kind of crazy. I have great sympathy for that crazy. Always root for that crazy, but you are 100% crazy. So I'll be back later on. I'll probably do a little bit more breakdowns. But if you have any topics you want me to get into, drop them in the comment section. And as always, hit that like and subscribe.